Hello guys, Johnny here with another video on The Flash. And in this video, we're going to be talking about my personal reaction to the reveal of which version of Barry becomes Savitar and why. We're also going to be talking about some sort of missed opportunities that the show kind of let go when they decided to go the route that they did. And then we'll talk about, what those other possibilities could have ended up looking like as far as, the way the story is going. So we're going to just be focusing on basically what we saw happen in season 3, episode 21. And we'll be discussing, maybe what we could possibly see coming in the next 2 episodes of the season. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so just real quick before we do get started with this video, I just wanted to apologize for taking so long on releasing this video. I was going to do it on Wednesday, but it was my birthday on the 11th, so I took the time to celebrate and I kind of delayed myself on this, but yeah, we're going to get this done now. So I do apologize for that. It was my birthday, I got a little crazy, so yeah. Alright, so now, a lot of things actually did happen in episode 21 of The Flash season 3. I'm just gonna name out, the important ones just real quickly because I'm assuming most of you have seen that episode already. So basically, what ended up happening in this episode is we find out basically which version of Barry Allen becomes Savitar and why, and then how. We also figure out how. Also, the team tries to stop our Barry, or, the Barry we know, from making new short-term memories so that Savitar can't remember what they're trying to plan to stop him. So that doesn't actually go their way, and they end up actually screwing with Barry's mind, which is interesting to see because it actually affects Savitar. So, they do keep it consistent in the fact that they were, they say that their memories are basically connected. So when Barry's memory gets affected by this memory loss, so does Savitar. So that's interesting to see. We also see that Killer Frost actually helps Team Flash get Barry's memories back because Savitar has lost his memories. And basically without his memories, without, it being actually Savitar, basically Savitar is useless to Killer Frost, whatever her goal is by teaming up with Savitar in the first place. So she does actually end up helping Team Flash get Barry's memories back. Also, another thing that happens is we see that Kid Flash loses his speed due to the fact that, and they explain this through, like a temporal loop. Basically, I'll get into that later in this video. But basically, since Savitar lost his memory and he's in a temporal loop, basically he would have never ended up getting the idea to give Wally back his speed from the deleted timeline Flashpoint. So then, therefore, Wally ended up losing his speed. So that's also interesting to see that they did keep it consistent in that, in that way, that they actually took Wally's speed as well. So I did like seeing that. I like the consistency that they had there. Also, throughout this episode, we get to see that Tracy Brand and HR are basically falling in love. Their little lovebirds are falling in love. And we also get to see that Tracy actually, towards the end of this episode, actually finishes the Speed Force cannon. Or I don't know if they decided to call it Speed Force gun. I'm not sure. But whatever, the Speed Force weapon that they're going to use to trap Savitar in the Speed Force is actually finished. We do find out, though, at the end of the episode that they need a power source strong enough to sustain the amount of energy that it's gonna require in order to use it. And that's actually where season 3, episode 22 comes in. Their whole purpose is to find this power source, and they actually give us a glimpse of this power source at the end of season 3, episode 21. And it, by God, it looks like the same weapon that those aliens, the Dominators used in the Fortnite crossover event to take over the minds of some of our heroes. So I might be wrong, but by the images that were given or shown to us briefly at the end of this episode 21, I do want to just, I do want to say that I do think that it is that weapon, which actually would make sense as well. It is alien technology, so it maybe does work at a different energy level than any other power source made by humans. So that would make sense. So we'll see how that plays out in episode 22. And that was just basically a brief little recap of the important things that did happen in episode 21. Now let's get started on the Savitar, which Barry is Savitar reveal. And I'm actually not going to get into details about, my reaction to this reveal and, my opinions on this reveal until the end of this video. I just want to get into the actual details of this reveal, and then we will talk about my reaction and what I think at the end of this video. Now, Savitar. We finally found out which version of Barry actually becomes Savitar. And it turns out that it is actually a time remnant that was created by this Barry in the future in an attempt to stop Savitar. We actually hear about this remnant, or not this remnant specifically, but we get a little kind of hint at it in season 3 episode 19 when our Barry talks to the future Barry, and the future Barry tells him that he's even going to create time remnants to try to defeat Savitar. And his future self, future Barry, actually tells our Barry that Savitar is going to kill all of them mostly. And even when this episode aired, I thought that was a little weird that he would say it like that, kind of like leaving that option open. So it turns out that is actually the version of Barry that becomes Savitar. Now we'll get into why he didn't get killed and all that later. Let's talk about what this version of Barry actually is. And according to Savitar, or Barry Savitar, that's what we're going to call him. According to Barry Savitar, he is actually a temporal duplicate. And I think that temporal duplicate is the same thing as a time remnant. I'm not sure. Maybe it's the method in which these remnants are created that's different. I'm not sure. For the sake of the argument, though, I'm going to say they are the same thing. And if you have something to say about that, let me know in the comments. Maybe I don't, I'm not educated on that yet. I don't know about it. So if you do know about it and I'm getting it wrong, please let me know in the comment section. But for the sake of the argument, that's what I'm going to go with. So a temporal duplicate is created whenever a speedster, any speedster, not just Barry, in this case it's Barry, but whenever any speedster runs back in time and meets a past version of themselves, or it could be a future version of themselves, doesn't matter, as long as they meet a version of themselves and actually interact with that person. So if the speedster actually just, travels back in time and has no contact with his past or future self, then a temporal duplicate is not created. It's only created when they run back in time and meet themselves. So when they talk to themselves. Okay, so now let's talk about how this whole Savitar thing actually ended up going down. So let's talk about what, basically events had to happen or did happen in order for this time remnant to be created, and then eventually what happened for him to become Savitar. So when a future version of our Barry created time remnants of himself, multiple by what we've heard in the show, similar to, I don't know if you guys watch Legends of Tomorrow, but I'm assuming it's something similar to what happened at the finale of Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, where Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, created 20 time remnants of himself just to kill the Legends. I'm thinking that it was something similar to that. I don't think that Barry actually went and created 20 of them. I think maybe something like 10, maybe 8. Something around those lines. So I think that Barry ended up creating about 8 or 10 time remnants, just by the way that they make it sound like it's a lot of them. So when Barry created these time remnants to fight Savitar, they all failed except for one. And it's funny because in Season 3, Episode 19, the future Barry Allen kind of hints at this. He says, you'll even create time remnants of yourself to defeat him, and he'll kill all of them mostly. So that's kind of like a little hint. He leaves the door open just a tiny bit in order for you to put whatever you want in there. So I didn't catch that really. I didn't think it was a big deal when he said that, but I guess now it is. It's the biggest deal. So even Savitar goes on to say, in that same episode, episode 21, I killed all of them but one. And the reason he says that he saved that one was that one version of Barry would end up becoming Savitar. Now, a lot of people, ever since this is, since they revealed that it was a version of Barry, have asked themselves, like, why? Why would any version of Barry go down? What would have to happen for this Barry to just completely not care about anybody but himself and not even Iris? They did actually go about explaining that. I didn't like the explanation they gave. We'll talk about it after I get done with the, timeline of events that happened. But yeah, basically after these time remnants were created, Barry and these time remnants ended up going head to head with Savitar. I don't know if Wally was there. They didn't actually clarify, but they ended up going head to head with Savitar. Savitar kills all of them but one, and then obviously leaves Barry alive as well. What ended up happening was that when Savitar let this time remnant live, he tried to go back with Team Flash and, obviously, basically live with them, or not live with them, but, basically interact with them because he is Barry. He's just a time remnant. He's not the original, but he is a time remnant of Barry. So technically it is Barry. It's just a different Barry. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense because that's the best way that I can explain it. Time remnants are confusing in and of itself, so I'm just gonna, we're just gonna take what we're given and go with it. Basically, what ended up happening that ended up sending this time remnant on like this rampage of like hate and anger and hunger for power was that when he survived, Savitar let him survive. He went back to Team Flash and he basically tried to fit in, try to talk to them and be with them. And basically what ended up happening is that that Joe, Wally, Cisco, and Barry himself ended up shunning this time remnant, basically, like neglecting him because he wasn't the true Barry Allen. Because he was an aberration, a disposable hero. Because in the manner of speaking, he technically is a disposable hero because time remnants can be killed or can die without having any effect on the timeline. Now, if our version of the true version of Barry Allen died, then that would cause significant damage to the timeline. So that's why they refer to him as an aberration, as not the true Barry Allen or a disposable hero, because he is in fact a disposable hero in a way. No, it sounds a little bit harsh, but that's technically what he is. Another little thing that I just want to add on here is that Savitar actually tells the audience and Barry that the future Barry never mentioned what happened with the last surviving time remnant, so he basically avoided that, or maybe he was just so lost in the pain of losing Iris that he didn't even think about mentioning it to our Barry. But yeah, Savitar tells him, your future self forgot to mention that, didn't he? And, so that's interesting to see that, that future Barry, emo Barry, as I call him, didn't actually bring that up because that's pretty important, that a time remnant survived and then the rest of the team treated him like a piece of crap. So that's pretty important. Maybe you want to throw that in there next time. So, we don't know why he didn't mention it. Maybe he just didn't think about it at the moment, but we'll see what happens with that at the towards the end of the season, which we are getting closer to. Basically, what ended up happening after the team basically gave this time remnant the cold shoulder and basically avoided him and neglected him was that this time remnant had become so broken because Iris had just died before he was even created, actually. So Iris had just died. He was so broken, and on top of that, he was alone because none of the Team Flash members wanted him. They all thought that he was just another time remnant that could be disposed of, and so he wanted to make the pain end, to make the pain go away. And that's when this time remnant realized the truth, according to Savitar. That's what he calls it, the truth. He said, God feels no pain. So this time remnant basically, thought to himself, like, all I have to do is become a god, and I won't have to deal with this pain that humans have to deal with. I'll be a god. I'll be greater. I'll be stronger. I won't have to worry about feelings and pain because I'll be above all of that. So yeah, basically after this time remnant of Barry had, basically given into all of this hate and anger and had decided to put himself on the path to become a god, he actually, and we don't actually hear this from Savitar Barry, we actually hear this from Cisco because he kind of puts all the pieces together. what Savitar ends up doing, or what this time remnant ends up doing after Savitar gets trapped in the Speed Force the first time, is he starts traveling through time back and forth until, he starts collecting these acolytes, which is what we've seen throughout this whole season, that they've been talking about Savitar as if they've known him for a while, and that actually adds up because that's how he's been doing it. He's been traveling back and forth so many times, and he even says this to Barry. He says that's the thing about time travel: the more you do it, the less the rules apply to you, the rules of time travel. And that's partially true, but there's always going to be something about time travel, and I'm really hoping that we can get to see some Black Flash around here pretty soon. Well, probably see him at the season finale or next episode. I don't know, but I'm hoping to see some Black Flash. I love Black Flash. I hope we can see him on the Flash, helping the Flash. That would be awesome. If it doesn't happen though, that's all right. That's cool. But I do actually hope that happens. That would be awesome. So, anyways, yeah. So that's basically how he ended up, spreading the lie that he was the first man granted speed. Because technically speaking, and I've said this even with my other versions of Barry, Barry is the first speedster in any version of any timeline on this Earth. So that does add up. And also, the way that he ended up uh, getting Julian to get the Philosopher's Stone and all that. That's how he did it. He was time traveling, like back and forth, trying to get all of this stuff done so that when it came time for his ascension, as he calls it, then everything would be in place, everything would be ready. And as he says, he would be one step ahead of everybody else on Team Flash. So all of that adds up. There's two more things I want to talk about, and then we'll talk about my reaction. So the next thing is that, and I've actually talked about this in my other videos, is that we've all been asking ourselves this question since we found out Barry was Savitar, or a version of Barry was Savitar, is why does Iris need to die? And we've seen Savitar mention this a few times to where he says, oh, you need to watch Iris die, or, Iris is going to die, or he even tells Iris, I'm sorry you have to die, so basically we know Iris needs to die, and everybody has been, from the beginning of the season, probably not anymore, but everybody's been asking themselves, why does she have to die? What's so important about Iris? And what's important about Iris is that it's like what I was saying in my other video, it's the casual loop paradox of time travel. Every time, and it can be called the grandfather paradox as well. I call it the casual loop paradox, but you can call it whatever you'd like. Basically, what this paradox states is, and if you want to go check out more about these paradoxes, is go check out my timelines and alternate timelines and time travel video. I have it on my page. Basically, what happens is when you time travel so much like this, is you end up creating what's called a casual loop, a grandfather paradox, which basically states that in order for an event in the future to happen, something in the past must happen, or vice versa. So not one thing can happen without the other. And that's interesting because, so in current time, Savitar is running around, right? He's got the suit, he's evil, he's running around kicking people's butts. So he's running around, and, it seems to be that his goal is to kill Iris. Make Barry suffer along the way, but kill Iris is his main goal, and everybody's been wondering why. That's because in order for him to be created, Iris needs to die. And, it's funny because Savitar actually says something around those lines. He says, see, that's the thing about time travel, Barry. The more you do it, the less the rules apply to you. But in this case, the rule has to apply to him because in order for him to exist, or for this version of him to exist, Iris does need to die so that Barry is driven so far into the dark that Savitar can be born. So that's why Iris needs to die. We've been trying to figure this out for a while now. They finally actually revealed it to us. I kind of saw that this was where they were going because of all the time travel involved and, the paradoxes come along with the time travel. So I did actually see that coming. That's actually why Iris needs to die in order for Savitar to be born. So that's interesting. We'll see how that plays out in the last 2 episodes of the season. Now, up until this point, a lot of things about Savitar's goal, his final end game, if you want to call it that, I'm going to call it that. So his final end game was actually revealed as well. And basically what his end game is basically he wants to make Barry suffer by killing Iris so that Savitar can secure his existence. So that's one. Two is he wants to have control of all of time, and the Savitar makes this sound very vague, so it doesn't sound too important, but that is actually really important. Have control of all of time. I wonder what he's referring to by that. We'll have to see what he's talking about when he says that in these next two episodes. Third thing is that he wants Barry to be abandoned and forgotten like he was when the team rejected him for not being the true Barry Allen. And this is actually interesting because this is the bigger reason that this version of Barry Allen is doing what he's doing. The reason that he became Savitar is because when he tried to, be accepted by Team Flash, be accepted by the people he called family, he was rejected and he was abandoned and he was forgotten and he was basically treated like a disposable hero, as he says. And that's basically what he wants Barry to, that's what he wants to happen to Barry. He wants Barry to be abandoned and forgotten like he was. So those are basically Savitar's bigger goals. They're pretty straightforward, except for that second one where he says he wants to have control of all of time. We'll have to see how that plays out. But yeah, those are his bigger goals. Now let's get to the part where I talk to you guys about my reaction about this whole reveal. Okay, so now my reaction to this whole reveal to which Barry is Savitar or becomes Savitar. I think the word that I can best use to describe is disappointed. And before you guys get crazy on me, I just want to explain to you guys why I'm disappointed. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, well, just because your theories weren't right doesn't mean you have to be disappointed. That has nothing to do with why I'm disappointed. I'm actually okay with being wrong about my theories. The whole point of a theory is that you're probably going to be wrong, but it's always fun to just play with, different possibilities. That's why I did three theories, because I played with all these possibilities and I wanted one of them to be right. However, I wasn't, so, it's not a big deal. It's whatever, it happens. The reason that I'm disappointed is because they really did, and by they I mean the producers and the CW, the network in general, they missed out on a great opportunity, a perfect opportunity to make this whole thing work. And I know what you guys are thinking. The season isn't over. There's 2 more episodes. There's still a lot that we can see. And I'm totally on board with that. I do agree there's still plenty that we can see. We're probably still going to see some flashbacks to show us how this all happened in the first place, which I'm excited about. I haven't given up on the season. I just can't help but just be disappointed in the fact that they could have had a better version of Barry be Savitar. Now, I know that it makes sense for it to be a future version so that everything he's already lived, is a memory to him, so he's just one step ahead. That does make sense to me. I do like that they did that. What I don't like is how forced it feels. Before I actually get into that, I want to just say why I do feel like it is forced. For starters, the reasoning behind why Savitar, or why this time remnant became Savitar, to me feels lazy. As far as the writing goes for the script, it feels lazy for the simple fact that, if you guys remember correctly, in season 2 episode 23, after the Time Remnant has sacrificed himself to save Team Flash and save the multiverse, the team was having a conversation about this Time Remnant and, basically saying, it was a copy of yourself, but it was still you. So, he's dead. Why would he kill, why would he let himself die? And that's when, Barry basically told him, he was willing to die for you guys. He loved you guys that much. And then, the team basically kind of was, a little bit it was heartwarming to them to know that Barry is willing to die for them. Even if it wasn't their Barry, it was a version of Barry, but still. To me, it's so hard for me to believe that a team, the team that we knew from season 2, episode 23, that was accepting, or not accepting because they never really met him, but that was so, basically amazed that, a version of Barry would sacrifice his entire, his life to save them, was just, it was awesome to them. It was great, to have a version of Barry sacrifice themselves for him. To me, it's hard to believe that a second go around at this, that the team would just totally just neglect this version of Barry just because he's not the real Barry because of that same conversation that they had in season 2. And I know that a lot of people are like, well, yeah, but the team at the time was mourning, Iris's death. So, all of these emotions were all over the place. So, it kind of makes sense for them to not be in the best mood to want to accept this remnant or this time remnant of Barry into the family or into the fold. And I accept that argument. It does make sense. They're heartbroken, all of them. They don't want to deal with stuff like that at the moment. But still, the way that this time remnant says that they rejected him is just. It sounds like they just completely, like, basically kicked him, you know, to the curb, And to me, that's just hard to believe that a team that saw a version of Barry, not the same one, but a version of Barry, a time remnant of Barry, sacrifice himself to save all of them and the multiverse, would all of a sudden, this time around, totally reject this time remnant and, treat him like crap because he's not the original Barry. To me, I just can't swallow that. It doesn't make sense. As much as you try to put evidence to it to support that, to me, it doesn't make sense that from one episode, or not one episode, from one season to the other, the same people would treat the same basically person in a completely different way. I don't care what the argument is. They were all heartbroken. I get that, but so was the time remnant. He might be a time remnant, but he still has the same memories and emotions that our Barry does. So I can't buy it. I like how they try to connect all these little pieces to it. This piece, unfortunately, just doesn't fit for me. I don't like it. It makes me question whether this was lazy writing or whether it was just something to fill the plot hole. I don't know what they were trying to do, but I don't like it. I don't like the reason, the motive for this Savitar wanting to get revenge on Barry and Team Flash. It's not good enough to me. The way that Savitar has talked to Team Flash and talked about them and about what they've done to him makes it seem like they did something worse. I don't think that rejecting somebody like that could drive, I don't know, not drive you, but could turn you into somebody who hates him so much that he wants to kill them. I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I understand that he did succumb to the darkness and go to the dark side, and forget about everything that he loved, everyone that he loved, and just care about all his power. I get that. I just can't. I can't think of the possibility of something so simple being something so big for the time remnant. I just, them rejecting him the way that they did. I get that it's a little heartbreaking, because he sees them as family, even though he's not the original Barry. It's not enough to me. I mean, if you guys feel differently about it, then that's totally cool. I respect that. But to me personally, I just feel like it doesn't give me enough of a. It's just not enough juice in the tank to work with. If it would have been any other version of Barry, even that season 2 time remnant, it would have made much more sense because this time remnant sacrificed everything for the team, and if they would have ended up rejecting him later on, that would have been more emotional because it's like, I gave up everything so you guys could live, and now you're treating me like crap because I'm not the original Barry. That I would have loved. But the way that they did this with this future time remnant not being accepted by the team, like I said earlier, I did not like that. It doesn't make sense. There's just too many things moving and they don't all fit, and I just wish that they would have taken the time to actually go into that a little bit more smoothly. Unfortunately, they didn't, and that's where they lost me with this whole reveal thing. So I actually, and I said at the beginning, I don't like who they revealed to be, what version of Barry they revealed to be Savitar, and it's not because I wanted it to be the original timeline Barry. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would have liked that a lot better just because it would have made a lot more sense. I'm not going to get into why because I would make this video like 40 minutes long, but it just would have made more sense. I feel like this version of Barry being Savitar, for the motives and the reasons that he is Savitar, just it's not enough heat for me. It's not enough it's not enough of a backstory. It's not enough just drive. You can't, like, I don't want to bring Arrow into this, but in Arrow, in season 2, when Slade Wilson was the villain, it worked out because Slade Wilson had that personal, emotional connection to Oliver Queen from their time on that island. So when they went about making him the villain and, giving him a good enough reason to basically want revenge and want to kill Oliver Queen and kill anyone that he loves, that, it really worked because of that connection that they had. I feel like what they did with this version of Barry becoming Savitar is, they found the one version that could meet most of the criteria to what they had been working towards this whole season, and they kind of just went with it. And I mean, it does make sense, go with the one that connects to the most things. I do agree on that part of it. I just don't like the execution that they had. And I've said this in a few of my other videos. To me, it's all about the execution. I don't care how bad the story is or how bad the acting is. If the execution isn't there, then there's nothing to save that show or that series. So it's kind of just what happened with this reveal. I feel like they just went with what would work instead of going with what would be not cool, but more intriguing, more interesting. Because to me, this version of Barry being Savitar and the way that he becomes Savitar, not only is it confusing as hell, but it's also bringing up all these questions that they don't have enough time to really bring answers to. So it's one of those things where they need to find a way to answer these questions, and they have 2 episodes left in the season. So I'm hoping that they find a way in between these 2 episodes to answer these questions, so that I don't think I'm the only one, so that me and the rest of the people asking these questions can get some answers. So yeah, guys, that's really what my reaction sort of is to the version of Barry that they revealed to become Savitar. Like I said, I don't like it. I personally just don't agree with the choice that they went with. I've said this in a few of my past videos that I would be okay with whoever they picked so long as the execution was almost perfect. I know that it can't be perfect, but if you're going to make Savitar a character that, we know and love, or, care about or cared about at one point, it has to be a good execution. So far, I don't think it's been a good execution. I think that they've been a little bit sloppy just with how they've explained it. Hopefully, in these next 2 episodes, they do find a way to unsloppy this and, clear it all up and answer all these questions. If they do, we'll talk about it. If they don't, we will also talk about it. That's my reaction, guys, on that, reveal of which version of Barry becomes Savitar. Let me know what you guys think, though, in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you like this choice that they went with for who becomes Savitar? Do you agree with me and think that this was sloppy and just kind of lazy writing? Or, do you have your own opinion? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you guys think. It always helps when I'm making these videos, reading back through those comments and, checking on what you guys think so we can talk about it in the next video. So go ahead and go in the comments and let me know what you guys think. Do you like this version of Barry becoming Savitar? Do you not like this version of Barry becoming Savitar? Or are you still in between liking it and not liking it, and you're waiting till the season ends to finally make that decision? Let me know in the comment section, guys. And once again, if you like what you see and you want to see some more videos like this, just give me a like and a subscription, and I'll get out some more videos for you guys.